Arsenal women have won the Champions Cup, but this isn't just about lifting a trophy. Because what we saw in the tournament, and particularly in the final, tells us something much bigger about where Arsenal are as a club and where women's football is heading globally. This was a competition that tested squad depth, adaptability, mentality, and composure, not just technical quality. And Arsenal didn't win it by dominating every minute. They won it by responding, by managing chaos and finding decisive moments under pressure. First of all, context matters. This wasn't a friendly exhibition or a pre-season showcase. The Women's Champions Cup brings together elite clubs from different football cultures, different continents, and different physical and tactical demands. For Arsenal, that meant stepping out of the familiar rhythms of European football and testing themselves against opposition with different pressing triggers, different tempo control, and different interpretations of physicality and game management. That's important because women's football is increasing globally, and the teams that succeed long-term are the teams that can adapt, not just dominate domestically. So let's discuss the final. The final against the Corinthians told a very clear story. Arsenal didn't cruise this. They didn't get an early lead and suffocate the game. Instead, we saw a match defined by momentum swings, disruption, and emotional management. It was a high-stress game. Imagine to play and especially to watch. Arsenal's goals in the game also came through different player profiles in the squad. Olivia Smith opened the scoring with an excellent goal, followed by Lotte Wubben-Moy's header, and then Caitlin Foord stepping up in extra time with that decisive moment. This spread matters. It wasn't one star dragging the team through. It was a squad win across age, experience, and role. And then when the game turned, when Arsenal conceded late and the match threatened to slip, they didn't panic. They reset. The ability to emotionally reset is one of the hardest things to coach, and it's often what separates good teams from elite ones. Now, we need to properly talk about Caitlin Foord. Because yes, she scored the extra time winner, and what a goal it was. But reducing her performance to just that goal misses the point entirely. Foord was exceptional through the match, carrying the ball under pressure, stretching the pitch, and doing the defensive work that often goes unnoticed. And crucially, this goal came after a long goal drought for her last goal being in September of last year. Scoring in extra time of a final after that kind of spell is not about confidence. It's about trust in your role, in your team, and in your process. This is what top-level squads need. Players who don't disappear when the spotlight feels heavy. Players who stay connected to the game even when the numbers aren't going their way. That is leadership even without the armband. Now, of course, I do have to talk about what happened in the final moments of the game. The match was, of course, overshadowed after Arsenal's goalkeeper Borber got seriously injured in the final moments, resulting in a long 10 minutes of stoppage while she was stretchered off the pitch. And this matters because women's football can't grow sustainably if we only celebrate the spectacle and ignore the human cost. The way the game concluded demanded perspective and not just performance. And that's something the game is still trying to learn to balance publicly. Success and welfare, competition and care. My thoughts are obviously with Borber, and hopefully she has a speedy recovery. Now let's shift focus and talk about the prize fund. This Champions Cup came with a $2 million prize fund. And no, this isn't about flexing numbers. It's much more than that. It's about signalling. Prize funds like this tell clubs, federations, and sponsors that women's football is commercially viable. International competitions can carry real financial weight, and success has tangible consequences beyond medals. For clubs like Arsenal, that money can feed back into player investment, infrastructure, medical support, and long-term squad sustainability. For the wider game, it raises the floor, because when top competitions set financial standards, others are forced to follow or fall behind. This is how growth actually happens, not through viral moments alone, but through structural incentives. So what does this mean for Arsenal? For Arsenal women specifically, this reinforces something important. This is a club that expects to compete globally, is comfortable outside European familiarity, and understands that trophies aren't always pretty. And no, that is not a comment on the look of the trophy, that it was a giant plate, which people seem to be talking about a lot online. It also strengthens Arsenal's pull. for players, for sponsors, and for future competitions. Winning matters, but how you win is what shapes your identity. And Arsenal didn't win this by being perfect. They won it by being resilient. So what does this mean for women's football as a whole? Zooming out, this result matters for women's football because it shows global competitions can work. Fans will engage with non-European narratives, and women's football doesn't need to copy the men's game to be compelling. It can build its own ecosystem, one that values adaptability, welfare, and genuine competition. This Champions Cup wasn't flawless, but it was meaningful, and that is the difference. So Arsenal women have won the Champions Cup, not just with goals, but with depth, composure, and perspective. And as women's football continues to grow globally, wins like these don't just fill trophy cabinets. They ultimately shape what the future looks like. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.